Why does God allow suffering? It's a question that has echoed through the ages, a question that weighs heavily on the hearts of many. When we see pain, injustice, and tragedy in the world, it's natural to cry out to God and ask, why? The truth is, there's no easy answer to this question. The Bible doesn't give us a simple explanation for why suffering exists. But it does offer us profound insights into God's character, His purposes, and His presence in the midst of our pain. One thing we know for sure is that God is not the author of suffering. He is good, He is loving, and He grieves with us when we hurt. In John 10 verse 10, Jesus says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full." Suffering is a result of the brokenness of this world, a consequence of sin that entered the world through human disobedience. But even though God doesn't cause suffering, He can use it for our good. Romans 8 verse 28 tells us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This doesn't mean that every instance of suffering is good in itself, but that God can bring good out of even the most difficult circumstances. Suffering can refine our faith, making it stronger and more resilient. It can teach us compassion and empathy, drawing us closer to others who are hurting. And it can drive us to seek God more deeply, to find our hope and comfort in Him alone. In the book of Job, we see a man who endured unimaginable suffering, the loss of his wealth, his children, and his health. Yet, even in his deepest despair, Job clung to his faith in God. He declared, "Though He slay me, yet will I hope in Him." Job 13 verse 15. Job's story reminds us that suffering is not the end of the story. God is with us in our pain, and He can bring beauty from ashes. He can redeem our suffering and use it for His glory. When we face trials, we can find comfort in knowing that God understands our pain. He wept at the tomb of Lazarus, demonstrating His empathy with our human experience of grief and loss. And He promises to never leave us or forsake us, even in the darkest valleys. So, if you're struggling with pain or questioning why God allows suffering, know that you're not alone. Bring your questions and your pain to God. He can handle your doubts and your anger. And He can bring healing and hope to your wounded heart. Remember, suffering is not the final word. God's love, His grace, and His power are greater than any pain we may face. Cling to Him, trust in His promises, and find your strength in His presence. He will carry you through.